Butler.
Awesome. Good to have you in the studio. Appreciate you coming in and kind of sharing a little bit about your experience in the world of fitness and bodybuilding.
Good to be here. Definitely. This whole year has just been like a revelation to me. Like everything's changed. Just did my first show, and I did the Kentucky Derby, Man's Physique. Took first place in True Novice, second in the Open. Got my national qualification, and I'm about to just run with that now.
So we actually were at that show, and we did a few local people before kind of building up to the show, and it was really fun to kind of become more part of the community and meet different people that were a part of it. I've been into kind of the world of fitness for a little bit, started actually in college for myself, and came back here to Louisville, and I was into fitness, but I was never really part of the community. So it was kind of cool to get into the community. Were you before a part of it, and is that how you got into it, or how'd you kind of get into the sport?
So playing sports, mainly basketball. I actually played football, tennis, but mainly basketball. I had to get stronger. I was super, super skinny. I actually remember my brother used to mess with me about like, man, you need to just go outside and run into a tree or something. Because I was just like, I could shoot really good, and like, that was back when it was more about driving, and now it's all about shooting threes, of course. But so like I had to get tougher, so I started lifting weights for that. I was also into like wrestling, like the WWF and all that, and a lot of those guys. Like I liked the way they looked, so I started lifting weights to get stronger. But I became more in love with weightlifting than I actually did with playing basketball. So I would be lifting weights. Everybody goes to shoot around, and I'm still lifting weights. Like I just was like, I'm gonna keep lifting, and eventually it just kind of grew on me, and the biceps started peaking, and it was like, all right, I think I'm going to just keep doing this.
Yeah. Where'd you go to high school?
Butler.
Butler. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I went to Trinity, and just being in here in Louisville with no we have a few different pro sports teams, lower level stuff, but no like NBA, MLB kind of thing. It seemed like high school athletics was always kind of a big part of the community. And,
it's a high school, college town. Like everybody knows all the local schools. Obviously the U of L, UK, like the big thing there. But it definitely is it's more focused on, I would say, the high school, college aspect. But I would love if we actually had a pro team. That's actually something that, like, 'cause I'm big in the NBA. Yeah. Like, that was really my thing. Growing up, I was like, I'm going to be an NBA player. Like, I wish I grew, to be 6'6". That would have probably helped. But, I love NBA, and I follow that more than I do the college. Yeah. A lot of people don't do that around here, but I love NBA.
Yeah. I kind of was into the NBA as a kid and fell out of it a little bit, but then kind of recently got back into it. The kind of the emergence, the game change for me, is really fun to watch. Yeah. I don't know have you been keeping up, I guess, with the finals?
I watch every game, man. I don't miss a game. Like, I watch, like, Lakers. I watch teams just all across the country. Like, I watch every game I can.
Who are you going for in the finals?
I got the Warriors. Yeah. I actually had them picked preseason, so if they win, I'll be looking pretty smart to a lot of people.
The guy behind the camera right here, he had some faith in them as well. I wasn't sure. I was like, they don't have the lineup that they're used to, but they just got a good organization, it seems like.
I knew Clay was coming back, and the real question was, is he going to be good? Is he going to be healthy? Like, is he going to be hobbled? And once I saw that he could still light it up, and he wasn't looking – he's looking a little bit slower, but he's 80% of Clay, and 80% of Clay is enough. And Jordan Poole emerged. They got a lot of good young players. And, of course, the nuclear bomb, Steph Curry, which is just, man.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. It's so fun to be kind of in the moment watching that kind of – I always wished I could see, like, Michael Jordan in his prime, and
we're in there in that zone. That's actually one of the things that I take to the gym with me. Like, I enter this kind of zone, and I can't speak for them, but like, it's almost like you're kind of by yourself. Like, I could be in the gym with 30 people within my vicinity, and there's no one near me. Like, that's how I take that mentality into the gym, and I think that helps me like progress a little bit better than I think a lot of people with that.
Yeah. And did you find that came natural to you, or did you kind of have to develop that?
It came natural, but over the years, it's enhanced. Like, I don't even really know if I like made it that way. It just is. Like I think it's just something you're kind of born with, and over time it either goes one way or another. Like you're going to become more of it or less of it. Like you might mellow out. I've just become more into the zone. Like it's just like I'm in my own little world. Like I kind of zone out, and people are kind of I can see them kind of looking like, man, that guy's like, it's almost like he's in a trance.
Yeah. Do you think like playing sports that helped a lot with that kind of being in the zone?
Basketball for sure. Growing up, like my brother, he played at U of L. So I kind of had like a little bit of a good push just to get me going like early, and definitely helped my mindset. I wish I had more of that mindset then as I do now. I think I could have went a little bit further in basketball, but I mean, I think this is the path the universe wanted me to be on.
Yeah. It's so funny, like looking back at things and you think, I wish I would have had that knowledge or that motivation or whatever in the moment, you know, but it does take you to a place that you never really probably saw yourself going to, you know, it's so weird. Like you said, the universe, like, or whatever you believe in, like can take you, if you are willing to at least like get on any path, it'll take you to kind of where you're destined to be or wherever you're supposed to be. It's kind of interesting like that.
I'm a big believer in the universe and fate. I think everything happens for a reason. Me and my friends argue this a lot because they don't believe this like I do, but none of them are really into the bodybuilding except one, like I am. And I believe everything happens to put you on a path. And sometimes bad things happen and people, they get really down on themselves or life, but they don't realize that that bad thing may have actually been the biggest blessing in your life, because now the path is clear for you to do what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they don't really see the bigger picture a lot of times.
Yeah. And is that something that there was an experience in your life that you feel like that kind of shaped that belief, or what kind of shaped that for you?
I would say I always knew that I had a lot of potential in this field. Like people have always been like, dude, like as soon as you get on stage, you're going to win. You're going to probably, go right to get your pro card. And I put it off. I'm not going to lie. I put it off for years. I focused on other stuff, girls, relationships. I'm a video gamer. I play video games, not as much as I used to, but all the time. And I just kind of was like, man, am I where I need to be right now? Like I have kept up with the weights, never stopped lifting, but am I ignoring the path that God, I believe in God, wants me to be on? And it was almost like it just kind of clicked in me one day. And like I was like, man, I'm not going to procrastinate this any longer. I'm not going to, like, I would do these where I was like, all right, I'm going to do this show. And I wouldn't tell anybody. And, I was getting myself in a better shape kind of secretly. 2 months out, something happened, life happens. It's all right, I'll just do the next one. And over years doing that, and it's just like, wow, like I wasted way too much time on stuff that really don't even matter now. So that's also helping. It's helping drive me. Like I feel like the fire is definitely at a level that I could not have reached years ago. It's definitely at a higher level.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to mindset, and in bodybuilding, I feel like it's so much of mindset.
100% mindset. This is the most mentally draining and demanding sport. I don't care what anybody says, because it is you versus you, and that is the toughest battle that anybody is going to fight. Like I played all the sports, and they're all tough in their own ways, but the mental aspect in this is from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. If you really want to be top level competitor, you are focused on everything you got to do to be the best version of yourself that day. Yeah. So from the minute you wake up, your first meal, you meditate, whatever you do to get yourself going, that's going to carry over into the gym. Your hormone levels is going to carry over into how your body absorbs the nutrients. It's going to carry over into how you recover. So pretty much from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, this whole day has to be in unison. So the mental aspect is it's everything.
So at what point did you kind of get into actually wanting to do this? Like, what pushed you into this direction?
So it's interesting. I had muscle before I do man's physique. I had a lot of muscle before man's physique was ever even a thing. And I used to joke around with people. I was like, like you got bodybuilding and then that's basically it. And that's fine. Like I love bodybuilding. But we got to have some kind of like stopgap. We got to have like a category for people who are like really in good shape, but they're not 280 pounds. They're walking around looking like comic book heroes, but there's nothing they can really win at a high level. They can win the local show, but they're not going to win the Olympia. Right. And lo and behold, physique comes around. I think it was around 2011, 10, somewhere around there. And I'm like, oh man, this is it. Like the universe has told me your division has finally arrived. And when it initially came around, honestly, I didn't like the way they looked. A lot of the physique guys were really thin and they were in shape, but it just, I was like, I'm not going to shrink myself down that much. Like I want to still look, pretty strong, but I like the idea. I kind of stopped following it for a bit. Like I said, life happens. I kind of got back into it around 2018-ish, and it was total revelation. Like the guys are like 230-ish pounds on stage now, where they was like 180 when it first started, and I was like, ah. So that kind of rekindled the spark. It wasn't until probably 2020 that I really, really was like, I think this is something that I can finally get going though. I actually started tailoring my workouts more to bring out more detail. One of the big things is you can't really have big biceps, like not huge, but I got pretty big biceps. So for physique, you can actually get docked down points if you have two like bigger arms. They want more shoulder back. They want I got a good waist to shoulder ratio, but they want you to have super small waist. So I started tailoring my physique and my workouts more for looking like this. So when I started prepping, I was already kind of where I needed to be. It was more so, okay, now you just got to diet yourself down. Like I kind of cut the path short, which was good because a lot of people, when they start prepping, they got to grow or they got to shape themselves into whatever they want to be. I was already in that shape. It was just more so, okay, now we got to diet down and get that look.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness. They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Gun Coffee. Gotcha. Yeah. And was the diet side of things, was that something that kind of was a little bit easier for you than normal, or was it harder for you?
It wasn't easy. I'm a very disciplined person. When I'm doing so, when I have a goal, when I'm not dieting or not having a goal, I'm eating whatever I want. I'm eating chicken, fried chicken. I'm eating cookies. I hope Coach ain't listening to this right now. Pizza. So like I'm gonna enjoy food. Now when I'm dieting, I am 100% to the T with that. Like I don't even like cheat meals. I don't like the word cheat meal. I believe you just go ahead and deal with it. I don't even call it suffering because to me, I'm just getting better for a bigger purpose. So I'm not even going to use like those like, oh, I'm suffering or I'm dying. I think it's kind of silly when people talk like that because I'm living. Like I am getting better towards being what I ultimately want to be is a pro level champion. So yes, the dieting is not fun, but if you're motivated and you have that goal, the fun is, oh, look how I'm looking. Like that's more fun, Like yeah. I'm ready to go be a champion.
Yeah. It is interesting getting to talk to so many different competitors, with different number of of years of experience at different levels. It's interesting to hear the kind of the different mindsets, the different ways people go about it. It does, and you kind of mentioned it's a you versus you kind of thing, and everybody does have their own style of competing in this sport. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's all about your genetics, your structure, just how you adapt to stuff. One of the big things with me, and this is something that this is also one of the reasons I put off competing for so long. I'm a natural competitor. A lot of people, they do not think that they are like, this guy's lying. And no, I'm 100% natural competitor. That's just something that I have always kind of instilled in that, like, I know I can grow, I can build muscle. I don't need the other stuff. I know a lot of people, they do it the smart way and they're healthy, and more power to them. Me personally, I'm a believer in just hard work, and you got to have the genetics. I'm not saying everybody can do it. Like, I don't go and be like, oh, you got to have good genetics. That's literally the most important thing, actually. And the work ethic and, the discipline to eat what you got to eat, take the supplements that are going to help get you to that next level, recover, and all that good stuff. But, yeah, I definitely, I believe health is wealth. That's a big thing with me. There's been a lot of deaths in bodybuilding in the past 6 months to a year, like literally like every 2 weeks, pretty much someone in their mid to early 30s or early 40s is having a heart attack or something. And it's getting ridiculous, honestly. Like it's getting to the point to where you got to like kind of say, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Like your health is literally the most important. It should be the most important thing in your life. This is actually meant to be a sport of health. Like that's how it was intended. And it kind of got a little sideways, but I support everybody and what they do. Just my personal beliefs there.
And do you think that's kind of a reason behind the new divisions that are coming out is so, it for people who do want to focus more on the health aspect of it, there's that possible, avenue for them to take?
I definitely think so. There's always going to be people that are going to, walk the line. They're going to do whatever they can do to try to game and beat the system. I do believe like the wellness division, the name is wellness. So they're obviously trying to promote a healthier look. They still look super muscular and strong, but not quite so over the top. It's a little bit more of a more obtainable, yet still just remarkable look. Like the average person is going to be like, wow, like they look insane, but it's a little bit more of a natural look. Yeah. And I do like that division. And physique, obviously, for the men. I feel the same about that one.
Yeah. So kind of getting into whenever you decided you were actually going to finally go all the way through with it and you wanted to step on stage, what was that? Tell us a little bit about that actual experience, because, you mentioned a few times where it was like you would start to go through it, something would happen, and you would be like, all right, maybe next time. What was really the catalyst behind just being like, you know what, screw it. No matter what happens, I'm going to do it.
So at my job, I've been at UPS forever, and we actually have been having some issues with a lot of the veteran workforce is kind of being disgruntled because basically we're just not getting treated right. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and this is kind of how I said it kind of clicked in me. So I'm just kind of sitting there. I work nights, and I'm just like, man, like I've been here forever, and they don't really appreciate me, and I could have been potentially making a living off of doing what I actually love. The one thing that I wake up and think about from the time I wake up until the time I go to sleep, I could have probably been making a living off of this 5-10 years ago. And I'm in a job where I don't really hate the job, but it's when you don't feel appreciated, it can rub you wrong definitely after a while. And it lit a spark in me. It pushed me a little bit, I would say, harder to just like to not only want to compete, but like I want to get my pro card, and I want to make this what I do. Like this is all I want to do. I don't really want to go to UPS. Like it's not a terrible job, but it's just I don't think it's meant for me. It's not my path. It's what I do to have steady income right now. You got to have steady income, but it wasn't my path. And I think until I get on my path, that's that's the fire. It's knowing that I'm still wasting my time because I'm on the path, but I haven't reached the goal. And until I reach that goal of being a pro who does this for a living, then I have to keep pushing myself, and that's helping me get there.
Yeah. So when you finally stepped on stage, even a little bit before that, it's the day of the competition, and tell us a little bit about that, the emotions, you're finally like taking the first step on that path. I'm sure that was a pretty crazy kind of moment for yourself.
It was absolutely the wildest thing that I could have ever imagined in my life. From the moment I hired my coach, Kevin, he's One Man's Talent on Instagram. Everybody knows Kevin in Louisville. And I told him, I was like, man, like same thing. I was like, dude, he's known me forever. And he knew, like when he saw the look in my eyes, he's like, man, all right. Everybody was like, every year, oh, Glasgow, he ain't doing a show. It's like, he's really going to do a show now. And from the moment I hired him to the time I got on stage, it was like a nonstop adrenaline rush. When you get to the hotel for your like athletes meeting, I don't weigh in for physique. We just do height. It's height based, and like it's like you feel different. It's like everything leading up to that it's a lot more, I don't know, par for course. Once you actually are there and all the other competitors are there, you get your spray tan. The spray tan was it was kind of cool. Like it was like 90 degrees in this room. It was hot as hell, and they spray you, and it was like a real cool feeling. So that was actually probably one of the coolest things. Seeing yourself with the spray tan, it was like I saw myself for the first time. Like I saw cuts and muscle and definition that I didn't know I had, which is crazy to say because you see yourself, you see yourself every day. No one sees you like you see you, but it brings out this like detail, and when I got spray tan, that's when it got real. Up until then, honestly, it was like I'm in the zone. I'm ready to do this. But when I got spray tan and went back to the hotel and I saw myself, I was like, I might actually win something. And it was a great feeling. Hearing myself called out in first place in my True Novice first show, it was overwhelming. I told my friends, I was like, man, I might cry if I get first place. I didn't cry, but it was like overwhelming happiness. Like I couldn't wipe the smile off my face when I got back, and my family was there. My mom, my sister, and brother-in-law and nieces came in from Atlanta. So it was just like everybody was just so happy, and it's hard to describe like how overwhelmingly happy I was. Yeah. It was just a feeling of just extreme happiness.
So, once you achieve that goal, that's obviously a big step, in the direction you're talking about your path. That's obviously a big step to take. But how does that kind of, how does achieving that goal, especially, hitting it on your first go around, how does that almost like propel you, but also at the same time, like ground you, to the next goal?
It does both. I've been to like 10, 15, tons of shows because I was always like saying the next show is going to be mine. And you don't really get an idea of how good and how big a lot of the competitors look until you're just standing there next to them. Backstage, everyone's tanned up and everybody's got their posing outfit on. And a lot of people looked a lot better than I thought they would. And it was actually more motivating because I'm like, I got to work even harder going forward because, this is a huge show, but this is still, a local show. It's a national qualifier, but like, I'm like, man, if these guys look this good and I win and I go to the nationals, these guys they're going to be insane looking. So that grounded me in that regard. It made me think like, no matter what happens here, we got to still put some work in, Like
yeah.
You got to keep getting better. There ain't I'm good. You ain't good enough. You ain't never good enough. But like I knew, I was like, all right, whatever happens from here on, we're gonna come into, and I said we're gonna come into the next show twice as good. And I'm not just saying that like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna come in bigger. I'm gonna come in harder. I'm gonna be a better poser. The hardest part for me, and probably for a lot of people, the first time is the posing. You got to learn how to make your muscles pop in a way that you don't really just do naturally. It ain't the same as just doing a pull down, doing a curl. It's like you have to make them pop in a different way. And and you got to maintain your composure while you do it. And that's actually probably the one thing that I wish I had practiced a little bit more. I'm definitely practicing that almost every day now. So I'm gonna be much better at that at the next show, which is gonna be it's a pro qualifier. So posing has to be on point for that.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Yeah, posing I feel like is, especially to the non-competitors, something that's, I think, overlooked, because you just assume like, oh, this person, they have this muscle. Now they're just showing it, they're just, but you're talking to different people. It's like, it really is a skill in and of itself, part of the prep, part of the skill of being a bodybuilder, because you can pose in front of a mirror and you can see what's going on. But whenever you're up there on stage, it's like, are they seeing what I hope they're seeing? I feel like that'd be kind of a nervous kind of thing. And then not being able to, because you want to hold obviously the pose that you're in, but then you're second guessing maybe like, am I actually doing what I think I'm doing? Am I showing what I think I'm showing?
Yeah. With me, one of the big things was the back. I think from the front, from the side, I had like a natural, just decent front side pose. And with the back, you don't really see it. So like it helped having coach, pretty much guide me through those poses. But like I would go home and I would just set up my tripod and I would do the pose and I would go back and watch the video after. And I would be like, if I just raise it a little bit more, then I see more of the lower part of my back popping. But if I put my arms out more, then I see more detail popping. So it's just like every time you do it, you see something that you like more. And you're trying to find that perfect like angle and hit that angle every time for your body, because everyone's different. Like whatever my back pose won't be your best back pose. It's totally different for everybody. Like I got long arms, so a lot of my poses are gonna look different than a guy that has like shorter arms.
Yeah, it's very interesting because especially with this traditional sports background, you have. It's a different world of competition. It's a scoreboard. It's that kind of thing to where if you score the most points, you shoot the ball and get it into the basket the most amount of times, your team wins the game. And going to bodybuilding, it's like you could think you're the best. The person beside you might even think you are. Somebody in the crowd might think you are, but they could also, the person sitting beside them thinks that they're the best, the other person, and then this judge thinks this. It's just so subjective.
Yes.
How did you, was that any kind of struggle mentally with you at all?
That's part of that mental aspect, man. That's why it's so much different. Like in basketball or football, I'm just going to shoot 23s. I'm going to run the ball down your throat. I'm going to score more points. And I know I won. In this, you can come in and be like you said, subjective, but you could be the best on stage, but in that person's eyes, and that person is the one who's going to matter because they're the judge, he may not like the way you look, or they may think that, the person beside you is a better poser, or it's so subjective. And you have to be mentally strong because you can't get down on yourself. You can't, when they're doing their call outs, when they're moving people around, a lot of people give bad energy if they get put to the side, because obviously if you follow the sport, you want to be in the middle. Usually if you get put in the middle, you're going to probably come in the top two, and you got to be mentally strong. You have to maintain your composure at all times. For me, it's just like I know I put the work in. I'm not skipping any steps. I am going above and beyond what I need to do to put myself in the position to win. So at the end of the day, the judges are going to think what they're going to think. And, we can't, we just got to, it's the universe. Like, the universe is telling you, like, hey, if you don't win, if you don't place top 3 and you quit, this wasn't meant for you. If you take that and you just say, you know what, okay, I'm going to work even harder. I'm going to go talk to the judges. I'm going to find out what I need to do to get better. Come back at your next show. It's happened. There's been people who come in dead last in their first show. They take a year off and come back and they get their pro card. You gotta be mentally strong, always. The beauty of bodybuilding, no matter what division you're in, is you can always compete if you're healthy, if your body is able. It doesn't really matter. Whereas like in basketball, football, you're gonna age out. In bodybuilding, if you're healthy and you're able, you can go and do masters. You can change to a different division that might be a little bit easier on your body. Like you said, we got 300 to 500 probably competitors at any decent sized show. Obviously, a lot of people aren't going to win. I mean, there's only a few first places to give out. Yep. So I love the fact that so many people love the sport enough to do it, even if it's a hobby, because they're what drives the sport. Like, if we didn't have but 20 people, there's not going to be an event. There's no money there. Like, we got to have competitors to put on the event. So I love the fact that this is a sport that anybody can get into. There ain't no like, oh, nah, sorry. No, if you want to do this, you can get into it no matter where you are in life. If you're healthy and able, go to the gym, hire your coach, whatever you need to do to take those steps initially, and you can prep yourself for a show. And it's a beautiful thing, honestly, because there's not many like sports where you can actually compete, at a legit level, pretty much on your own. Kind of like you can like, hey, I want to do a show. I just woke up today and I was like, a year from now, I could be a pro. Yeah, that's not likely, but you could definitely do it if you put the work in. If you got the potential, the genetics, you get the right coach. It's definitely something for everybody can do, and that's a beautiful thing in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny. I've never thought about it from that perspective. You said like the majority of people who aren't winning actually drive the sport, and that's so true of, I guess, any sport really, because at the end of the day, there's only going to be one winner.
You got 30 teams, you got one winner.
Yeah,
but if the rest of the teams are like, nah, we're not going to win this year. We're going to just go ahead and you 5 or 6 teams that could win. You just go ahead and. There's not going to be a season. Yeah. So everybody has everybody does their part.
What do you see? Is there anything that you've learned that I need to change this? I need to improve that. Obviously we talked about posing, but like, do you need to do like, anything with recovery better, your training or your diet that needs to be improved? Like what have you learned about it?
There was a major change in my workout routine and I wasn't happy, but it was necessary, and I fully accepted it. And it was basically around the beginning of February. Coach was like, man, your arms are just too big. So I was like, yeah. He's like, well, you can't do no more arm workouts. Not like from now. The show was April the 30th. So basically, for 3 months, didn't touch my arms. Now they're gonna get work from doing chest and back. You can't avoid that. It's just they're secondary muscles, but. I didn't do any direct arm workouts, and that's always been what I'm known for. My arms like that. They come in the room before I do. So that was a ridiculous change in my whole workout routine. Like it literally changed everything. I actually now I've gotten used to it to where I don't even know if I'm gonna do them for the rest of the year. I actually told my coach I was like I might just take the rest of the year off from doing arms. Like man, I like the way. I'm looking more like a physique guy now, cause it's a different look. It's definitely a different look than bodybuilding. And the next show that I'm doing, it's a natural pro-am. The first show I did, it was just open to everybody. So this is going to be drug tested. I was looking at all of the fine details, and they are literally testing for everything, which I think is awesome. I like the fact that it is a show that it's a Ben Weider. It is a high-level show. It's people from all across the country, I think even Canada, and it's for an IFBB Pro card. So it is the real deal. I am very, very excited about that. I'm gonna say that my main thing is I call it streamlining. So when I stop doing the arms, I call it I'm restructuring my physique. So the big change is I'm making my shoulders more profound. They're not really getting smaller. It's just other things are getting bigger. So it kind of streamlines me out that way, you know.
Gotcha.
And that's really the major change. Is just my arms are just staying put, and shoulders and back and chest. Everything else is just kind of catching up with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And when is that show?
It's September 30th. It's in Alexandria, Virginia.
Gotcha.
It is a popular show. I didn't even know. Like, I didn't know you could get your IFBB Pro card doing a natural show. I literally, when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do this show. Yeah. And I know I've seen a few people in their stories, and I've even seen people like in their pictures, like on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I recognize, because like it's like a really like bright, and like the stage has a very distinct look. You can tell when you see that stage, because I mean Ben Weider, you know, it's a big show, and I've seen a few people that did it, and yeah, it's a very popular show.
Yeah, and as far as like the natural side of the sport goes, it's one thing that I think is becoming, just talking to different people, it's becoming more, I guess, like a pronounced side of the sport, you know. It's very interesting. And do you feel like there's like a direction to where it's going, where it's like this is going to be the natural side of the sport?
I believe that there's room for both. I want to compete against everybody. I don't want to compete against one side. So if depending on how I do, if I don't win or get my pro card, I'm looking probably at another NPC, just a regular open show that I'll probably do. Probably I might just go straight from there. I mean, you know, it's kind of early to say, but I do want to compete against everybody. I do believe that there's a new, I think it's the NGA. There's another one. I don't know if it's like the World Bodybuilding Federation. I can't think of the actual, but I think a lot of the other shows are leaning more towards the natural side. There's always going to be both. I don't think it's never going to be like where we just everything is one way. But it's just like I said, with me, health is wealth, and at this point in my life, I don't really want to dabble into that. You know, I'm not going to say like never say never, but just my personal stance right now is I'm making progress this way. So why do I need to even, you know, go that route? And I feel that there's more avenues opening up for the natural competitors. It used to not even really be a thing. Like I would even say 10, 15 years ago, you had like maybe one or two divisions that no one cared about. So basically, if you try to do it naturally, you had to just go against everybody. And, you know, the odds are going to be against you, obviously,
right,
in that route.
Yeah. And is there any pressure? I'm not a competitor, so I'm not sure like the actual within the coaching and competitor kind of circle, but is there a pressure to like go one way or another in different kind of circles?
There is. There's peer pressures every aspect of life. People are gonna basically, you know, they're gonna if you're a high level competitor, they're gonna offer you stuff literally like, here, man, just take this. Like I'm not even gonna, like, you know, just to get you going into that path. And that I've got a pretty good strong mind. And I'm very disciplined in that when I believe in something, I'm not going to be influenced one way or another. Like if I do it, it's because I determine that I'm going to do it. So, but there, it's one of the saddest aspects of this sport is I've personally, and I know it's happened to other people, but I've personally seen people get influenced into doing stuff that they didn't want to do, because someone said, oh, this is going to get you where you need to be. And it doesn't necessarily work out that way. Sometimes it could actually work out bad for that person. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but that is definitely one of the uglier aspects of the sport.
I'm not necessarily pro or, for or against it. But I do think that having more kind of openness about it is important, because then I think you can educate people better on it and kind of.
I take the same stance you got. I'm not pro or against it. It's just what I choose to do. That's the thing. Like, everybody has to walk their own path, and like I said, that my path may be to do that someday. I'm not saying, I never say never, because if you say never, then you're gonna look silly if you go back on that. So that's why I was like, never say never. But right now, I'm not walking that path. I do think that I'm big into MMA too. That's UFC. I do know a lot of MMA fighters locally, and I know some that actually went pro. And it's in the sport. USADA, I think that's what they're called. They cleaned it up a lot in the last few years, but it's more dangerous, obviously, in like UFC. Like in bodybuilding, we're posing on stage, but when you're actually trying to elbow and pound somebody into submission, then that's actually more of a, like, that's morally kind of bad in my opinion, because like you're enhanced and you're trying to literally hurt somebody. Yeah. So that's a whole lot. That's like a way worse level in that regard.
To me, it just seems like, especially when you look at like other kind of drugs or things that have become more like socially acceptable. It seems like those things are still kind of like in the shadows. Like,
I will say, I've been to every gym in the city, and a lot of the Indiana gyms. It's amazing to me, and I do think YouTube, and I'm trying to build my social media up, but I do think social media is definitely the devil in this regard, that people that are like fresh out of high school already know like what cycles and stacks they want to take, and like they can't even like fathom that like someone that has built this much muscle could do it without drugs. Like, they're literally like just getting started, and they're like, so if I do this, this, and this, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I've never even heard of this. You got like all these different like ridiculous like chemicals and like name stuff. I was like, man, dude, just eat and work out. Yeah. But like you said, man, it's I think that it's not progressing because probably a lot of that stuff isn't really backed by science, or like, I think it's a lot of probably snake oil. I actually made a post about this recently. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen in this industry, and a lot of that stuff probably ain't even real. And I think that's actually also why so many people are getting health issues now, because they are just getting whatever they can, and who knows what they're putting into their body. They're putting what someone made in a bathtub in their basement into their body, and that's just ridiculous. I've always said that if I ever come to the decision to do that, I'm going to go through a doctor. Like, I'm not just going to go find some random person and be like, hey, like, is this, and just trust them now. Like, I'm not that trusting of a person.
Yeah. I think that's probably for the best most times.
Yeah.
So kind of moving forward though, looking ahead into, even past this next show, what do you feel like is kind of your plan? Obviously you want to get a pro card, you want to start being able to make money off this sport, but do you have like a kind of a blueprint?
So the first goal and the only goal is to get the pro card. Once I get the pro card, I am going to 100% do shows. I'm going to use that to build up my social media further. I might even do some mentorship and do more coaching. I used to do a little bit of PT, personal training, when I worked at LA Fitness. That was a little bit while ago. And, like, honestly, I didn't enjoy that as much as a lot of people. I think I would enjoy doing the coaching more than I did the actual being the personal trainer. But there's several avenues that are all kind of related to the fitness that mainly I want to compete on the Olympia stage. Like, I don't want to just get my pro card and then be like, oh, I'm a pro, and then try to market my IFBB. Like, I want to actually compete at the highest level. So that's literally, like, I'm not going to say there's not other goals. Like, I do want to build the social media. I may get into the coaching, avenue and all the other stuff, but I want to compete against the best. And I'm laser focused on that right now. That is, I got tunnel vision.
That's awesome. Yeah. So as far as, talking about your journey, and you kind of mentioned at the beginning, you wanted to do this and you kind of put it off. With that being said, like, what advice would you have for people who want to get into the sport? Maybe they're younger, they're just getting out of high school, and maybe they want to take kind of the same route you took, to where it's like, I want to, just do it with, the natural way. Like, what advice would you have for people like that?
First and foremost, I would have to look. Everybody's different. Okay, I'm gonna say first and foremost, maximize your potential. If you're not lifting for 3 to 4 years, like legit, I don't mean like, oh, I go and play basketball and we do 30 minutes of weight. Like, if you're not doing a steady lifting routine for at least 3 years, don't even think about doing any drugs. Like, that's not even in your vocabulary. Once you maximize at least somewhat your genetic potential, go get you a coach, go find somebody to help you, a reputable one, and then, take a look at where you are, because everyone's going to progress differently. You might, in 3 years, be looking like a national level competitor. Go get on stage. If you're still looking like you barely go to the gym, obviously you got to make some changes, So that's very dependent on the individual in that regard. But I'm going to tell everybody the same thing. Like, man, don't listen to anybody that's going to try to put you on this weird stuff. It's going to hurt you in the long term. It's going to mess up your health, especially when you're still developing. Your testosterone levels are... Now, if you have like a medical condition, that changes things, which that could be a thing. There are some 19-year-olds that have like the testosterone level of a 60-year-old man, which is crazy, but that's just, that they may have to go get on like TRT or something from a doctor. And that's an exception to what I'm saying. But for the average guy whose like hormones are raging and his testosterone is raging, don't even think about that, man. Just lift, trust the process, put the work in. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you sprint, you're going to crash. You might win a few shows, but you're going to crash. It's happened to pros in this sport at a young age. Yeah. So definitely just trust the process. Don't try to rush it. You can't rush this. It takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not something that is a skill as much as it is just a will.
Yes, and there are genetic freaks. I got good genetics. I know there are some other guys I've seen that lifted for like 5-6 months right out of high school, and I'm like, man, this guy is bigger than almost everybody in the gym. Like, if you got that genetic potential, then you're the exception, like I said. But for 99% of the human population, in 6 months, you're going to look probably close to what you look like 6 months before. Yeah. And that's what's going to separate. Are you going to be like, man, this is a waste of my time? Or are you going to be like, all right, in 6 more months, I better go harder. Then I'm going to get better. And, it might be 3 years before I look like I'm even close to ready to get on stage. But in those 3 years, I'm going to put the work in, and then I'm going to be ready to do that.
Yeah. Definitely. It's with the human body, it's just a continual journey.
Yes.
You could be training really hard and, 25 to 30, and then 30 hits, you got to switch things up, and then 35 hits, you got to switch things up a little bit. You can still go hard, but you got to do different things. Your body hormones changes and you got to eat different things. So it's, whether it's bodybuilding or even just staying healthy, it's kind of this like continual, this journey and a little bit of an experiment, on what's going to be the best for you and the best outcome for you. So, I think that's really good advice, though, is just kind of to give it time and kind of really appreciate the process and fall in love with it and give it that time.
Avoid those crazy YouTube workouts that everybody thinks look cool, because most of that stuff is going to hurt them. And like I said, health is wealth, but it's not just internal, like your external health. If you're doing stupid stuff that's going to wear your joints down or injure you, then, that's going to be even just as bad as whatever, like you got to be healthy to make progress in this sport.
Yeah. And I think it's a cool avenue, because bodybuilding is that it's a sport and it gives you that drive to like keep being healthy and keep going to the gym, keep eating healthy and learning, because we don't get that a lot these days on like how to do that. The people that are at the top of the sport, they have a really cool opportunity to help shape, even if it's just a small percentage that bodybuilding is, help shape that into a more informed, healthier portion of society.
And I 100% back everything you just said. If I go far enough in this sport to where I actually have a voice that matters, I'm going to promote health, and I'm going to definitely try to promote that to the people that are just getting started. The 18, 19-year-olds fresh out of high school, I am going to tell them, like, hey, like, I know a lot of people are trying to put you like on this, and this, but man, like you're not. It's going to hurt you in the long run. It's going to hurt you in the short term and in the long term. Like, your health is everything. Don't let no one take your health from you.
Yeah.
Like, without your health, you ain't got nothing.
Definitely. I think that's a good place to end the podcast, man. That's really good to get to have you on here and meet you, and I appreciate your time and everything that you shared.
I appreciate you having me on here.
Definitely. And before we head out, though, if you want to share your social media or anything like that where people can get in contact with you.
Yes, I'm FlexWoods23 on Instagram, and I'm just Flex Woods on Facebook. I'm going to be looking to build up like TikTok and YouTube. I haven't really put a lot of time into those, mainly just Instagram right now. But I'm definitely wanting to build all the social media. So
awesome. We'll put that stuff down in the description, and health is wealth. That's a good message of the day, and if people want to continue that, they can go follow you on those platforms. So like I said, really good to have you on, man.
Appreciate it.